I bought the wrong tractor once. Cost me $340,000 in lost margin over 4 years, and I didn't even realize it until my neighbor showed me his fuel receipts. Don't make that same mistake. My name doesn't matter. What matters is, I've been farming north of 6,200 acres in central Illinois for going on 22 years now. I've run green, I've run red, and for the last several years I've been running German, specifically Fendt. And right now, in 2026, there are 2 machines from that same Fendt family that are sitting across from each other in a lot of dealer showrooms across the Corn Belt, and guys are genuinely torn. The Fendt 1100 Vario MT, that's the track machine. Big, heavy rubber tracks, the most powerful track tractor on the American market right now. And the brand new Fendt 1000 Vario Gen4, the wheeled machine. Just launched at the Farm Progress Show in Decatur last August. Deliveries hitting farms right now in 2026. The most powerful fixed-frame standard tractor you can buy in North America today. Same brand, same Vario transmission DNA, completely different animals. And I'm going to tell you, straight up, no dealer spin. Which one is actually going to put more money back in your pocket on a 5,000-plus acre operation? Stay with me on this one, because the answer is not what most salesmen are going to tell you. Let me start with something that nobody talks about at the dealership. They show you the horsepower numbers. They show you the shiny cab. They let you sit in that seat, run your hand over that joystick, and you feel like a pilot. And then they hand you a payment sheet, and suddenly your throat gets a little dry. Here's what I want you to think about before we even get into specs. Ask yourself 3 questions. What does my ground look like in April? Not August, April. When it's wet, when it's cold, and when you're trying to get into the field 4 days before your neighbor and plant that corn in ideal conditions while he's still sitting on the end of the road watching mud dry. Second question, how spread out are my fields? Are they all within 5 miles of each other, or am I making 15-mile implement moves on county roads? And third, what's my capital position right now? Because one of these machines is going to cost you roughly $300,000 more than the other one out the door. And that gap does not disappear just because the iron is impressive. Keep those 3 questions in your head, because every answer points to one machine or the other. I'll get back to them at the end. And when I do, you're going to know exactly which one you need. All right, let's talk iron. The Fendt 1162 Vario MT. That's the track machine most US operations are actually speccing and buying right now. It's sitting at 618 horsepower constant, not boost horsepower. Not peak horsepower on a dyno for 30 seconds. Constant, steady, pulling power out of a MAN 15.2-litre, 6-cylinder engine. You want more? Step up to the 1167. That's 673 horses out of a 16.2-litre block with peak torque of right around 3,100 Newton-meters hitting between 1,100 and 1,450 RPM. That's what I mean when I say this. Engine doesn't ask for high revs to make power, it just pulls. Low and slow, heavy and smooth. The machine itself tips the scales at right around 49,604 pounds maximum operating weight, nearly 25 tons sitting on rubber tracks, specifically the mobile track system with a 118-inch wheelbase. And that wheelbase, that's your soil compaction answer right there. That weight is spread across a contact area that no tire setup on a wheel tractor can touch. Ground pressure goes down, dramatically. Hydraulics? Standard setup gives you 58 gallons per minute. Spec the dual pump dual circuit system and you're at 116 gallons per minute. Rear lift rated at up to 20,000 pounds. It's designed to pull the nastiest, heaviest implements you own. Tile plows, large grain carts, big air seeders, heavy manure tankers, and not even breathe hard. What's it cost? On Machinery Trader and Tractor House right now in 2026, you're seeing 1162 listings averaging around $579,000 on the used side. New fully loaded, 36-inch Camso tracks, dual pump hydraulics, Trimble guidance, PTO, Gold Star warranty package. You're pushing $800,000 to $850,000 out the door. I've seen 2026 listings at dealers right around $743,000 base before you add track width upgrades and tech packages. That's real money. And we'll deal with what that means for your operating expenses in a few minutes. Now the challenger. The Fendt 1000 Vario Gen4. 4 brand new models, 1040, 1044, 1048, and the big dog, the 1052 Vario. The 1052, up to 550 horsepower when the dynamic performance system kicks in. Here's how that works, rated at 520 horses. But when your hydraulics are working hard, when your secondary systems are drawing power, the machine automatically, without you touching anything, unlocks up to 30 extra horsepower right when you need it. No button, no toggle. It just happens. Fendt calls it dynamic performance. I call it the machine doing your job for you. Same man-engine family as the track. But here, it's the 12.4-litre D26, 6 cylinders. It runs between just 650 and 1,700 RPM under the Fendt ID low-speed concept. In my experience, a tractor that doesn't have to scream at high revs to make torque is a tractor that's going to last you a long time and sip fuel compared to what you'd expect for the horsepower rating. Vario Drive CVT gives you seamless operation from literally 65 feet per hour, slow as you want for tight precision work, all the way up to 33 miles per hour on blacktop. That road speed matters more than people think on a big operation. When you're moving a 60-foot field cultivator 8 miles to the next farm, every mph on the road saves real time. And the cab on the Gen 4 is completely redesigned. We're talking 120,500 lumens of ultravision, 360-degree LED lighting. You can work in the middle of the night, and it looks like daylight around that machine. Massage seat, front and rear cameras for hitching implements, and an option to rotate the entire operator station 180 degrees for reverse work. You think that's a gimmick until you've run a grain cart all day and your neck is killing you at 9 p.m. One more thing on the Gen 4 that's going to matter in the next 5 years. It comes factory ready for autonomous operation through PTX Outrun. Right now that means the tractor can autonomously align itself with your combine for grain cart work during harvest. No retrofit required. The hardware is already in there. That's not a future promise. That's a machine that's built for where agriculture is going. Price on the Gen 4. You're looking at roughly $510,000 to $550,000 for a fully loaded 1052. Call it $530,000 out the door. So right there, before we get into a single performance comparison, there's a $300,000 difference sitting on the table between these two machines. And I need you to understand what $300,000 means on a 5,000-acre corn-soybean operation right now in 2026. And right here, if you're still with me, I need you to do me one quick favor. Hit that like button, share this video with your farm partner or your landlord or whoever else has a stake in your equipment decisions. And subscribe to Farm Gear Pro. We do this every single week. Real numbers, real machines, real talk from guys who've sat in these cabs and run these fields, no fluff. Just hit subscribe and you won't miss it. Okay, $300,000 difference. Let's work through what that actually means. On a standard 5-year agricultural equipment loan at current rates, let's be conservative and say around 6.5%, that $300,000 gap in purchase price translates to roughly $35,000 more per year in debt service just for the track machine. Every year. Before fuel. Before tires or track maintenance, before repairs, before anything. That's $35,000 a year the track machine needs to earn back for you just to break even with the wheel tractor on paper. Can it do it? On the right operation? Yes. On the wrong operation? Absolutely not. Here's the honest breakdown. The 1100 MT wins, and wins convincingly, on 2 things: soil health and wet field access. Let's talk soil compaction first, because this is the conversation that most equipment dealers won't have with you, because it takes years to show up on your yield maps. Soil compaction from heavy wheel traffic in the Corn Belt is a yield killer. University research, and I'm talking Big Ten AG school data, not marketing material, shows that sustained deep compaction from wheel traffic can drag corn yields down anywhere from 5% to 15% over time on susceptible soils. On 5,000 acres, if you're averaging 200 bushels per acre on corn, a 7% yield drag from compaction is 70 bushels per acre. At 4.25 corn, that's nearly $300 per acre in lost revenue. Multiply that across even 2,000 compaction-affected acres, and you're talking real money leaking out of your operation every single year. Silently, invisibly, while you're sitting in a wheel tractor wondering why your APH keeps creeping down. the 1100 MT, at nearly 50,000 pounds sitting on those mobile track rubber tracks, spreads that weight out over a massive contact surface. Ground pressure drops significantly compared to a dual-tyre wheel tractor at comparable horsepower. Operators running the MT on river-bottom ground and heavy clay soils in Illinois and Iowa are reporting less rutting, better post-harvest soil structure, and, this is the one that really hits the operating expenses, fewer tillage passes required the following spring because the soil wasn't destroyed by wheel traffic. Fewer tillage passes means less fuel, less time, less wear on equipment. That savings compounds. Second thing the MT wins on: wet field access. Picture April 12th in central Illinois. You've had 3 inches of rain in the past week. Your agronomist is telling you the planting window is going to close up in about 4 days. Your fields are borderline, marginal. A wheel tractor that heavy should not be in there right now. But the MT, it can work in field conditions that would have a 50,000-pound wheel machine sitting on the end of the road. Every planting day the MT captures that the wheel machine can't is a yield advantage. Corn planting timing in the Corn Belt is worth real bushels. Agronomic data consistently shows optimal planting windows matter by 0.5 to 1 bushel per day per acre after the ideal window closes. Miss 4 days on 3,000 acres of corn ground, that's potentially 6,000 to 12,000 bushels left in the field before you even plant a seed. The MT pays for itself in that scenario alone on the right operation. But here's where the wheel tractor hits back, and it hits back hard enough that on a lot of 5,000-acre operations, it actually wins the overall ROI fight. Versatility. That's where the Gen4 1052 separates itself. The Fendt 1000 Vario Gen4 runs 33 miles per hour on the road, legally, without a permit in most states, with an outer vehicle width under 11.5 feet on the row crop dual-tyre setup. That machine can till in the morning, plant at noon, pull a grain cart at harvest, run your 200-gallon liquid applicator in the fall, and drive itself down the county road between fields without you calling a trucking company. The 1100 MT cannot do that. Moving that track machine between fields requires a lowboy trailer, and depending on your state and road system, potentially overweight permits for certain county roads. On an operation where your fields are spread out and you're making frequent implement moves, that transport overhead is a real operating cost that adds up through the season, and the grain cart work at harvest. That's where the Gen 4's autonomous capability starts to look like a genuine financial tool, not just a cool feature. The factory-ready outrun system that lets this machine autonomously align with your combine? If you're running one operator in the combine and one in the grain cart, and the cart can eventually do that autonomously while one person runs both machines, the labor savings on a 5,000-acre harvest are calculable. Labor right now is one of the biggest operating expenses on a large grain farm in 2026. Anything that reduces your dependence on hired help has real market value. The Gen 4 also handles a wider variety of implements. Full 3-point hitch with up to 20,000 plus pounds of lift capacity. Full isobus communication between the tractor and your precision implements. The 1100 MT is primarily a drawbar machine for heavy draft work. And while it does that beautifully, it's not the same flexibility as a full-featured standard tractor. So here's the moment you've been waiting for. Here's the actual answer. Those 3 questions I asked you at the beginning. Remember those? What does your ground look like in April? If your soils are heavy clay, river-bottom ground, or anything that stays wet and compacts easily under heavy wheel traffic, the 1100 MT is your machine. The soil protection alone will pay for the premium over a 10-year horizon on those soil types. How spread out are your fields? If your acres are clustered within 5 to 8 miles and you've got good road infrastructure for moving that track machine, the MT works. If you're making 15 and 20-mile field moves regularly, the transport overhead and logistics of moving tracks makes the wheel tractor's economics significantly more attractive. What's your capital position? If you can service an $800,000 plus asset and absorb $165,000 per year in asset depreciation on your balance sheet, without it choking your operating capital for seed, fertilizer, and cash rent, the MT is financeable. If that depreciation hit is going to squeeze your margins and leave you thin on operating cash in a bad crop year. The Gen 4 at $530,000 and roughly $106,000 a year in depreciation is the smarter financial decision. Here's my honest take after doing this for 2 decades. On a 5,000-acre corn and soybean operation on moderate ground with spread-out fields and a tight capital structure, the Fendt 1000 Vario Gen4 1052 generates better 5-year ROI. The $300,000 price gap is simply very difficult to overcome in that scenario, even with the MT's real and genuine advantages. But on a 10,000-acre operation running heavy tillage on compaction-prone ground, with fields clustered together and a balance sheet that can handle the capital commitment, the 1100 MT earns every dollar of its premium. The soil protection, the wet field access, and the reduced tillage pass savings start stacking up in a way that makes the math work in favor of the tracks. Both machines carry Fendt's Gold Star customer care. 3 years, 3,000 hours, full machine coverage, all scheduled maintenance, and a loaner guarantee if your machine isn't back running within 48 working hours. On a 5,000-acre operation where a broken tractor during planting or harvest isn't just an inconvenience, it's a $50,000 problem. That loaner guarantee has real financial value built into the purchase price. Know your soil, know your layout, know your balance sheet, and then buy your iron. That's what separates the operations that grow from the ones that just survive. Thanks for watching Farm Gear Pro. If you found this breakdown valuable, share it with a fellow farmer and comment below your thoughts on this topic. See you in the next one.